Welcome back, SethBling here. And today I want to show you a speedrun that I did last week. This is a kill Bowser speedrun. So the only requirement of the category is that you kill Bowser, and then the game plays the credits after you kill Bowser. So this is a glitched category. I will be using a arbitrary code execution in the run that you're about to see. The new time that I got was 2 minutes and 41 seconds. So the point of this video is after I show you the speedrun, which you can see right now, I want to also talk about what goes into actually executing all of this stuff. What is precise, what isn't, how all this setup stuff works. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on. Like, why am I eating these berries? Why did I just get off Yoshi, grab that shell? Why am I scrolling the screen? So I'll go over all of that stuff in a little bit. The general idea of the run is that I do an arbitrary code execution where I execute code from the sprite x coordinate table. And so by spitting these Koopas out at pixel perfect x coordinates, I'm able to set up a few bytes of code, something like 10 bytes of code in total, and execute them by doing a glitch that runs the code from that x coordinate table. And so right here, we're going to see the item swap glitch that I use to execute that code. And this is a little bit of a different route than you may have seen before for the Kill Bowser category. I'm going to die on this Koopa rather than running to the right and dying on some moles. So here when I die, something strange happens. All of a sudden, I'm in the Bowser fight. There's two memory addresses that get modified by this arbitrary code execution exploit. One of them is an address that's checked whenever you enter the overworld, or whenever the game tries to load the overworld, which is the world map where you can enter all the levels. If there's a value in this address that's not 0, then it'll load whatever level is indicated by that value. So here we can see I'm doing the fight with the Cloud. The Cloud, of course, glitches out Bowser's AI and makes the whole fight a lot faster. Instead of having to wait for him to do a bunch of stuff, you can just kind of bring the Cloud to the left side of the screen and he'll skip whatever timer he was going to have and just do the next action. Anyway, so that was one of the values, the overworld override value. And the other value is a value called the trans level number, which whenever you beat a boss in Mario, it checks which level you're in, and it specifically checks this memory address, the trans level number, to see which cutscene to run. So there's various cutscenes for beating the different castles and stuff. In this case, after I beat Bowser, I have set the trans level number so that it's the trans level number from Bowser's Castle, so that it will. So the time just stopped there. Anyway, so that it'll actually play the credits after fighting Bowser. If I didn't set that number, or if I set it incorrectly, but what would happen is after, Peach kisses Mario, this text happens, there's some fireworks. After all that, it would actually just start the Bowser fight over, because it would try and load the overworld, and the overworld override number would get checked, and we would be back in the Bowser fight. Anyway, there's a lot of technicals as to how that all works. I can just fast forward a little bit here, but yeah, basically just to see that the credits play, because that's a requirement of the category. If the credits didn't play, it'd be kind of dumb. So, but I've got this actually open in VLC. So what I'm going to do is rewind back to the very beginning, and I'm going to pause in a bunch of places and show you what's going on with this run. So there's no way to skip this opening cutscene here. I do try and do this disco pose. If you watch my streams, you'll hear me say disco sometimes. It's because it looks like Mario's doing a little disco pose. Anyway. There's no reason to do that. That's just something I do for fun, I guess. Of course, we enter Yoshi's Island 1. Now, at the very beginning of the level here, there's something important. So what happens is I try and jump at a very specific spot right here. There's a 3-frame window to make this jump. But if I jump within that 3-frame window and I just hold jump and land on the left side of this Koopa, the 4th Koopa, then the Koopa, this guy here, gets ejected to the right, and he slides to a stop at this exact pixel. And so anyway, that is important. That's this guy will occupy the first slot in the sprite x coordinate table, and it has to be pixel perfect where he ends up sliding to a stop. And that jump is not the easiest to do, but it's not that hard either. Anyway, so I go farther to the right in the level. I scroll the screen to the left for something that's about to happen. First, I have to do a block duplication. So you have to basically kick the shell up while you're right here, and you'll see that in a sec. There we go. There's a 2-frame window for that, but there's only a 50% chance that it'll work. So it's like kind of like a frame perfect trick, sort of, but you don't know which of the 2 frames is going to be correct. Anyway, this is a block duplication glitch. I have to duplicate the block either to the side right here, or it's actually possible to duplicate the block right up here, and then the Yoshi egg would appear above that. And that's important. And then the next thing that happens is I have to get, there's a little setup here, but basically I have to stand on this exact pixel and then hold jump down and left. And you'll see me do that. And when I do that, this is a setup for the egg fragments that are about to pop off of this egg. So these egg fragments, there's 4 of them. What matters is the Y velocity of this one and this one when they despawn. And so this guy over here always just kind of pops out and despawns with a Y velocity of hexadecimal 42. This one up here, it will go off the right side of the screen. And this whole setup here, scrolling the screen to the left and whatever, was basically to get the screen scrolled to a very specific spot where this eggshell fragment will pop off the side of the screen and unload itself while it has a very specific Y velocity value of hexadecimal 1A. So these two, it's like kind of weird that we're trying to get Y velocities to have specific values, but 4.2 and 1A. Anyway, so this setup does that. So when this pops off the side of the screen, you can see that despawned early. And then after that despawns, I can move wherever I want. And I have to kill this shell here. Then I hop back on Yoshi. Now here I have to glitch this berry. This is actually really easy to do. If you just run to the left and stick out Yoshi's tongue while you're running to the left, you'll glitch out that berry really easily. I kill that Koopa and glitch out this berry. And then here I eat this berry. The Y coordinates of these 2 berries that I just ate are important. And this one, I have to hold up while eating the berry so that Yoshi kind of finishes eating the berry while it's up here. If you don't hold up, his head comes kind of down here. Anyway, so this Y coordinate is important as well. But there's nothing like difficult about that. You just hold up while eating the berry. And then I get off Yoshi. Now, what I'm going to do here is kind of weird, but basically, let's see if I can pause at the right frame. There we go. So there's a shell in front of Mario right now. There's this red shell, but Mario is facing the screen. And whenever Mario faces the screen, the game draws that specific sprite of Mario facing the screen. And when it does that, it like stores the on-screen X coordinate as the distance from the left side of the screen to a specific memory address. And we need that memory address to be 80. So it's this sprite of Mario facing the screen is exactly 80 pixels from the left side of the screen. And that's really easy to do because if you're walking to the left or running to the left like I am in this frame, you'll basically always be 80 pixels from the left side of the screen because the game always scrolls the camera so that you're 80 pixels from the left side of the screen. So that's a really easy setup to do. So anyway, I have to turn kind of right and then left just to have Mario facing the screen. Then I scroll the screen to the right and pick up the shell and move it 17 pixels to the left. And if I do that, and then I kick the shell up, let me actually see if I can... Whoop. The VLC is kind of frozen. Hold on. Okay. Let's just look at that again real quick. So I eat the berry, grab the shell, do the left, right. So there's this white splat. Let's see. There we go. This white splat right here, that needs to be at a very specific X coordinate on screen. So it needs to be 18 pixels from the left edge of the screen. And so that's why I had to scroll the screen right, and then I had to move a little bit to the left to get to that exact pixel on screen. It doesn't matter where in the level you do this, you just have to make sure that after you do the screen scroll, you move exactly 17 pixels to the left. And then that white splat will be the correct distance from the edge of the screen. Then I get back on Yoshi, I just leave that shell alone, I don't need it anymore. I'm just gonna ignore it for the rest of the run. Then I grab these Koopas. Now, each time I spit out a Koopa, basically what happens is Yoshi has the Koopa in its mouth, and it spits out the Koopa shell, and that Koopa shell's X coordinate gets written to memory, and then immediately gets turned to a fireball, and so that memory of value that stores the location, the X coordinate of the Koopa shell, is never touched again by the game. So it'll stay in that position in memory until the glitch the arbitrary code execution glitch gets run. So I spit out the shell, it sets the x coordinate, and so each of these spits has to be at a specific x coordinate. And some people wonder how I know whether I'm at the correct x coordinate. And basically, you just have to look really closely here. There's this kind of repeating grass bump pattern on the ground, and I basically look at what Yoshi's feet look like relative to that grass bump pattern, and I just look for certain alignments to certain pixels, and I have those all memorized. And that's how I figure out if I'm at the correct x coordinate or not. It's just I've figured out where I need to stand in order to get it, and I've memorized what that looks like in terms of Yoshi standing on the grass pixels. Anyway, so there's, let's see, how many? There's like 6 of these spits? Yeah, I think 6. And these happen at x coordinates, specific x coordinates. Then I run over and do the item swap, but there is a new part of this along the way that is pretty difficult. So this Koopa right here, his x coordinate actually matters, and you can see he's kind of walking to the left. He actually walks to the left at 1 pixel every 2 frames. And so, but what I'm going to do is basically grab the shell so that the Koopa doesn't hop in it, and then jump over him. But I'm going to do a left-right. I'm basically going to stop moving forward so quickly. And by doing that, I delay the amount of time until this Koopa walks off screen to the left and despawns. And so as I run to the right, as he eventually, you know, you can barely see his butt, he's still loaded. Okay, now he's not loaded anymore. And he walked off screen at a specific time so that his x coordinate would have a specific value of hexadecimal 60. And that trick is pretty difficult to do consistently. It's not as difficult as I thought. There's a 2-frame window, like I said, of getting him to despawn. And you can sort of tell based on where Mario is. Here, let me see if I can rewind a little bit. Basically, when you jump and kind of stall in midair, oh, that's way farther behind than it was. When you jump and stall in midair, you want the fireball to kind of give Mario a haircut, but not take off his head. So you can see the fireball just barely touched Mario's head, but it didn't like fully overlap his head during the stall. And so you can kind of tell, and if you're too far ahead of the fireball, you can slow down a little bit more. Anyway, it's difficult to do to get a Koopa to walk off screen at a specific x coordinate, but not so difficult, obviously, that I couldn't pull it off in this run. So here, this is the item swap glitch. This works by turning that green shell into a coin with the fireball. The coin, then I get it on Yoshi's tongue and collect it with Mario before it enters Yoshi's mouth. And then also before Yoshi finishes his eat, I load a charge and chuck that spawns right over here, just off screen. And then so basically he ends up eating the charge and chuck because of the way, just basically it's because of a bug in the game. And that's not supposed to happen, so that causes a couple glitches. And we use one of the parts of that glitch to run the arbitrary code. And then the other part of that glitch is that it puts a cloud in your item box up here. And so then, like I said, you overwrite those 2 values in memory with the arbitrary code execution exploit, just based on wherever you spat out the shells. And that lets you warp to Bowser, and it lets you play the credits after the Bowser fight, after you successfully kill Bowser. So here, there's one last like pretty hard part of this, which is in order to get up to this cloud, you can't jump straight in. It's too high up. So you have to bounce off one of these Mecha Koopas, this guy. So it's kind of a little bit of a difficult jump to bounce off that guy and into the cloud. But once you're in the cloud, it's not too bad. You got to make sure that the cloud comes down. It's pretty easy to actually accidentally leave it up where you jumped into it, and then you can't reach it anymore. Anyway, so then you throw the Koopas up at Bowser. Now, whenever there's certain like times that Bowser has a countdown, and throwing the cloud off the left side of the screen will zero that countdown timer. And it's just basically the cloud and Bowser's AI use some of the same memory addresses. And so one of those memory addresses is the X coordinate of the cloud, and the Bowser AI timer is shared. So if you throw the cloud off to the left a little bit, it'll zero out that memory address, and Bowser will instantly do his next action, and you can speed the fight way up. And this is something we use in 11 exit speedruns too, which is the sort of less glitchy speedrun that's like about 10 minutes long. Anyway, that's the speedrun. That's what all goes into it. That's the precise parts. That's what's precise and what's not precise. I know a lot of people watching kind of wonder like how I do what I do. And, you know, there's a whole other question of how do I find this stuff? And that's a whole really long process that takes a lot of research and taps into a lot of different skills that I've learned through computer science and just through practice. But that's how you do this run. There is a document that I've linked in the description that describes in more detail how these parts work and what you need to do to execute it. If you do want to try this out for yourself, it is possible to do this in an emulator. Specifically, the BizHawk emulator supports everything you need to support in order to make it work. And there's instructions in that document for how to set that up and get going. But it shows you all of the pixels that you need to be standing on to do all the parts of the glitch and everything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about how this all works. I think it's really cool. I'm having a lot of fun doing these runs, and I want to do more and hopefully find some more cool little time saves. I saved about 10 seconds over my world record from the previous week based on the thing I was talking about where the Koopa has to walk off screen at this precise pixel. The green shell Koopa. Yeah, so that actually saved quite a bit of time. And there's more time to be saved with that too, I think. Yeah, so check out the document if you're interested. I'll be streaming these runs on Twitch as well, so check me out on Twitch. Check me out on Twitter if you want to know when I'm going live. That's also a good place to find out. Anyway, SethBling on all of those. So that's about it. Thanks for watching.